Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Kahalolim Yahweh, Basham Yahweh Shai, Basham, Rukakudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, right? Salutations to the Akim in the Four Winds, preaching truth and sincerity, risking their lives more now than ever, right? To the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but your bloodline goes back to Israel and have came back to the fold. Shalom. To the sister on the Akwaf, listening and learning in silence. Shalom. This your brother Ram Yahawada with the lesson. All right. Let's going into what? The things that we've been talking about. Right? Prepare yourself. Stock up your food. Get ready. Sorrows, woes, calamities. Things is coming upon the earth. Right? Stock market crashing. All sorts of things. But let's go ahead and get into this.
An hour to waste. You need to look at, you don't have an hour to waste. You need to look at the events that are happening in America right now and start to get ready for change. If you're in a country outside of America and you rely on the United States dollar and the U.S. economy for a measure of your own economic stability, you need to get ready for what is coming. Every month, we send out a newsletter to our Patreon members, and I want to read to you, as we have in the last couple of months, I want to read to you last month's newsletter so that we can get some discussion going here on a public level and see what we're going to do to get ready for the next couple of years. This is for June 2021. I started off, hello everyone. In this month's newsletter, I wanted to take a moment to discuss the events that are happening in the world around us right now. That's something that we do here on the channel each and every day. Notwithstanding the potential for mitigation measures in normal pneumonia season to counter an already struggling economy, economists are warning that the entire structure of the U.S. capitalistic economy is on the brink of unraveling. We're already going to see, and remember, this is last month, June 2021. I wrote it up at the beginning of last month. We're already starting to see call for new mitigation measures for COVID, aren't we? We're already starting to see calls for change that you're going to have renewed mitigation. They might go as far as citywide, statewide lockdown measures, even though the current ruling administration to the United States of America said that they're not going to do that. We're seeing it pop up across the world. So get ready for that. We talked about this a month ago, a month before anyone else was talking about it. So the U.S. economy is on the brink of unraveling. In many regards, allowed corruption at a political level and the control that is swayed through corporations to politicians has diseased a system that worked for generations. With this unraveling will come a new era of poverty. That's something that you need to get ready for. Kelly and I have personally interviewed families living in what I would consider some of the worst conditions throughout multiple countries of our world. One family in particular caught my attention. The father was a patriot to his nation. Just like we have patriots here in the United States of America, there are patriots in the Philippines, in India, in Venezuela, in Vietnam, all over the world, in great living conditions and very sour living conditions. So this father in particular was a patriot to his nation. Even as the family pushed through a hard life that many in the West would consider illegal, that is to say their food, their shelter, they didn't have toilets inside of the house, things that you just couldn't get by with in most areas of the United States of America, water availability, or just wrong. The father felt that the country in which he lived was the best country in the world to grow up in. I started seeing this trend in people in poverty that I talked to all across South America and to the East. I believe that this is part of a human condition. It's a condition to find stability, even if that stability is a tar paper shack or an old abandoned area. There are always things that could be worse, and so humans adapt and they overcome to low points in their lives so that we can persevere, so that we can continue on. This is a biological condition that no matter how bad things are, we have a drive as a creature on this earth. Even though we might be heightened from other creatures, we still have a drive, and that drive is to persevere, and in the majority of cases, that drive is to create new life. And you're not going to do that if you're wallowing in the worst of conditions. So no matter what, no matter how bad things get, and that's why I often tell you, look to the people who are living through financial crisis events in other countries. Look to the people who are living through civil war in other countries. They are still continuing on. There's a fantasy in the general preparedness movement that it's going to be an all hell breaks loose. You're going to need to be Rambo or Schwarzenegger just to get by. No, you have civil wars, you have massive amounts of disease, you have economic crisis events happening all across the world. And who's living through it? Somebody's grandma. She's living by herself. All she has to do is find a place to keep herself sheltered. She has to have access to some meager amount of food, and she has to have access to water, more importantly than all of those things. If she can fulfill those things, she will survive. The Mad Max, it's everybody's going to come for everything that you own. That's a fatalism. That's either a fantasy or a fatalism, and we need to get over that because you and your family are going to be living through a crisis. You might not like to hear that, but you're living through a crisis right now. You're living through the largest financial event to take place in lifetimes. You're living through the end of an era of the United States as the dominator to the rest of the world as far as military and economic pressures go. You are living at the end. And so you need to get ready for this next new step. And instead of being caught up in the you just can't do enough to get by, remember the grandmas that are living through civil war across the world. It is in the best interest of each one of our families to do what we can to buffer the shock that these future impacts will have. No matter our personal position right now, there are always things that can be done to create a fire break for what is coming. It is my family's mission, and so it is the mission of each of us in our community. I'm speaking to each of one of our Patreon members there, and right now I'm speaking to you as a member of our YouTube community here. It is a mission of each one of us in the community to find the things that we can do to better our lives while at the same time getting the most enjoyment out of life that we can. This is a long duration emergency. What started in the late 2010s financially and really ignited in 2020 will affect our world for generations. So it is our mission statement to attack this enemy from all angles and in all budgets, in all areas. From dollar store provisions to camping at a local park with your kids, spending time fishing, taking pictures of catch and cook afternoons, building a sand filter out of concrete or 5-gallon buckets, all the way to very long-term options. This is the time to get the most out of your life and get the furthest away from this crisis that you can. So many new people, I continue on, are burdened with the reality that they face. They wake up from an impossible dream to the reality that there are bad things happening in this world. And no government organization, no one is going to be there to help them. In this realization, they are shocked at all the positions that they need to fill in order to remain even ill-prepared. There's so much to do. So many gaps that you need to fill, from security to food to water. Somebody just waking up from, like I called it, the depression is here. Things may look a little bit different than they did in the early 1900s, but you have to remember that even during that time when the Great Depression took hold of the entirety of the United States of America, life went on. And so today, as you go to the grocery store and as you go and look outside, things are continuing to move forward, but just listen to the news and what is happening around you. Wells Fargo has told its customers that it will be shuttering all personal lines of credit. The bank will immediately begin shutting down all existing lines of credit just in the next couple of weeks in what is being called a desperate bid to close positions of vulnerability, with executives warning that they will no longer offer such lines to the public. Now, take into your own consideration right now why a banking institution that is worth hundreds of billions of dollars would be doing this. The lines of credit let borrowers take up to $100,000 in debt. They were introduced as a way to consolidate higher interest rates, credit card debt, pay for home renovations, avoid things like overdraft fees. You have to start asking yourself why this is happening. Why an institution worth $200 billion in change is doing this. The next question you have to ask yourself is who is next? This isn't going to stop at Wells Fargo. You will see other institutions closing their gaps here soon. Why? Because they know that you're not going to be able to pay them back. Why are they doing this? Because they know in the next 6 months, 12 months, the average consumer won't be able to pay them back. These are positions of vulnerability for these banking institutions. And so when they see the very real fact that if they close the lines of credit today, you'll still use your stimulus money to pay your minimum payments. You'll still use your government-run money to give them money back plus interest. If they close them today and don't offer any new lines of credit, they will be in a better position, because come 2022, come 2024, when this financial crisis continues to deepen, they're not going to get paid back. What do you think the first institution that a family that is trying to buy groceries at the grocery store to feed their crying and hungry children are going to drop? They're going to drop these lines of credit. They're going to try to keep the car. They're going to try to keep the house or the apartment, and they're going to drop any and all lines of credit. Wells Fargo is not the first. They are definitely not the last. We had dozens, hundreds of reports in the last couple of months, and we've looked up and seen that millions of citizens in the United States of America were affected by a similar move by Synchrony Bank. Synchrony Bank came in and shut off millions of lines of credit. They did this through credit cards. You had credit cards like Amazon. You had PayPal credit cards all over the place. They just shut them down. Why? Because they saw what was happening. You have to look at what they do and not what they say. Wells Fargo warned customers that the account closures are going to have PUD score, according to frequently asked questions. They recently reviewed their product offerings and decided to discontinue offering new personal and portfolio lines of credit and to close all existing accounts. That's according to the bank letters that were sent to news organizations around the country. The move will allow the banks to focus on credit cards and personal loans. Why do you think that is? Why do you think they want to offer personal loans instead? Because they can offer 36% interest rates on personal loans. They can cut them short and say, hey, you've got a year to pay this back. If you don't, that interest rate just goes up and up and up. Your credit's ruined. They have a chance to make more money than they would with these lines of credit. The move comes after the Federal Reserve barred the bank from growing its balance sheet, they say. Now, the real question that we're seeing here, the real question that we need to ask ourselves is why now? Why today? The CEO to Wells Fargo, Charles Scharf, is warning that the company has been forced to make extremely difficult decisions. And as part of those decisions to stay afloat, they are shutting off access to life-altering credit in the form of the offloading of assets and deposits. This has been long in the making. Let me tell you, it's not going to be the last institution that does this. Wells Fargo would not directly answer questions to what role, if any, the U.S. Federal Reserve had in this last move. This is huge. If the Federal Reserve is orchestrating or giving information to these banking institutions, warning them to shut down their lines of credit, what do you think they know? Major economists, banking institutions, hedge fund managers, investment institutions, they have all forecasted the future. Do you know what 90% of them say? It's bleak. The future is one of financial hardship for the majority in the United States of America. In doing this, in knowing this, they have to make moves. You should be making these exact same moves in your house. You should take the knowledge that you're seeing from these major institutions that are running multi-million-dollar artificial intelligence, or at least programmed learning algorithms, to see what is happening in the world today, to see the position of these banking institutions, to see the financial position of the borrowers, of the money makers at the foundation level of society. Take what you can from their information.
So yeah, this is Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, right? So Esau, Edom, right? Dealing with the international bankers, this whole global reset, setting this thing so they can set up the digital dollar. They think it's all their idea, but really it's an appointed time that the Lord had for this to happen that way, right? Just like Daniel said, shut up the books and until the time that knowledge increase, right? So we're at the time that knowledge increases, right? Because you can go on your phone, type up Google, and you could dang near look up anything, and prior to the men of the Lord bringing out the truth on such a high level, you could basically bring up anything. Like I remember, it was easy to bring up this video. A woman made a video that she was abducted in what they call UFO or unidentified flying phenomenons by men, black men. It was a white woman, and she said that she was a slave, and they took her to a planet, and they said she had been there before, and that she was a slave to all the black people that was there, right? You can't find that video, which basically what was the angels, right? You can't find that video no more. So there's certain things that this was, it just lets you know that this was led for an appointed time, right? Because the Lord's finna bring his wrath, and Satan know that he got but a short time, right? And now that time, what his sin, Esau's sin has reached unto heaven, but at the end, right, which we're at, right? Anybody with common sense will tell you you're in the latter days, right? The end times, latter days, right? Even the freaking so-called Jehovah's Witness will tell you they're the latter day saints, but they're not. They're not the saints, and nor do they really understand what type of latter day that they're in. They're in the end of their kingdom, which is Esau. It shall speak and not lie, right? And it's sure speaking and not lying to the coining of Apostle Tahar, hastening the day of Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, right? Though it tarry, right? It seemed like it's waiting. It seemed like it's taking a long time, right? Because we're going through hell, right? Wait for it, right? Stay in this faith. Don't start bugging out like Alazar, and a lot of these other Israelites that took the bag, right? Man, I push myself even those times when I feel like not doing a lesson. I be praying, man. Lord, please, you know what I'm saying? Man, help me, help me push, because man, I have those days, man. But we know that we're going through the straight gate, because it will surely come. It will not lie, right? And it's surely coming, and it will not lie, right? That the RFID chip is the mark of the beast, and by getting rid of the FRN, right? Behold, right? His soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him, right? So deal with this devil, Esau, Edom, the international bankers. Their soul is not right up in them, but the just shall live by faith, right? Because we're coming into a time of what? Famine, death, pestilence, right? Financial hardships, right? The faithful or the just is going to live by faith. Yea, also because he transgressed by wine. So his even though all these things, and then you even have this Edomite here, or what would seem to be an Edomite, giving you fair warning. Stack up on your food, look at what's going on, Listen, look at what they do and not what they say. What they say is what their wine, their philosophy, their way to deceive you. Right? That's that wine. He is a proud man, neither a keeper at home, right? Because they're all over the world, taking in the oil, the gold, the diamonds, right? Got the military all over the world, causing conflict, right? Who enlarges his desire as hell, right? And hell is basically the grave, right? You know, and is as death, right? Right, and where you put a dead body in the grave, right? And cannot be satisfied, right? Because they want more and more and more. And not only do they want all the gold, the diamonds, now they want your souls, right? They want to put a digital print within your soul, right? They want to attack the God gene within the Israelites, right? So they can't be satisfied, but gather unto him all nations, right? That's how you know it's NATO, EU, and America, right? The international bankers dealing with one world order, one world government, right? Heaping it to them all, because America deals with that in itself. NATO, like Britain, all that. They got all these different nationalities and stuff that's there just in like London, right? You got all these different nationalities. Instead of them being in their own land, all of them are all, you got Arabs and Chinese and so-called black, so-called Latin, so-called this, that. They all live there just like America, right? Because America's the sister or the daughter to England, right? And they got the same thing. You got Arabs, you got Chinese, Japanese, you got Africans, you got so-called black people, so-called Spanish, so-called Native Indian, which are the Israelites, by the way, right? You got all these different nationalities, right? Because they heap up into them all people. Heap up to them, gather to them all nations, right? Which now they're trying to go into the one world order, one world government, right? And heap it to him all people, right? Shall not all these take up a parable against him? Shall not all these other nations take up a parable against him and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe unto him that increaseth that which is not his, right? And who has done that but the self-proclaimed white man, conquering Australia, conquering Hong Kong, even though they gave it back. But at one time, Hong Kong belonged to the Brits, right? Going all over the world. Northern, Central, South America, the so-called white man, South Africa, conquering the whole world, military all over the whole world, right? Even Russia, technically, the people, Putin is actually an Edomite. Those people in Russia are Edomites, so the Edomites are all over the world, right? Yeah, they, he increased that which is not his. How long? And to him layeth, right? And here's a clue. And to him that layeth himself with thick clay, right? And let's look up that clay, right? Because we know that what? Because of the Brexit happened because what? A lot of those other countries that were part of the European Union,
a lot of those other countries were more in debt than London, more in debt than I think what is it? I believe it's Spain and Germany. I think France is in trouble. A lot of those other European places are in trouble, but there's certain that got money or their economic situation is a lot better than others. So that's that partly strong, partly broken, which is going back to Daniel's, right? Because we're in the foot, which is basically the second leg of the Roman Empire, right? Because you know how when it goes into Jacob took hold of the heel of Esau, right? Sometimes when you trip up somebody, you know they have two legs. So the other leg came down to balance him, stop him from falling. But it's only a short space. So eventually you're gonna go down. You're gonna have to fall, right? Let's go into that. About yet, right? Which is what? Weight of a pledge. Pledge goes into what? Loans. What place gives out loans like crazy? What? America, right? The European countries, they give out loans and all this other stuff, but really loans is what? To put you in debt, right? And it in itself as a country or as a nation, especially dealing with America, it's in what? It's in debt itself. Heavy debt is the next one. Heavy debt, right? A debt that America can't pay back, right? So now it has to pay with its citizens by chipping you with the RFID chip, by getting you to get into the digital currency. Job 22:7. But you know, as they're trying to get you into the digital currency, how are they going to do that? They're gonna put you in restraints where it's gonna be hard for you to get food. It's gonna be hard for you to do things. So you're basically in between a rock and a hard place. So it's gonna force you to get the mark of the beast. Thus has not given water, right? So they're gonna take it away. That's why they're talking about a drought right now. Oh, California, Arizona is in a drought, and the drought, and we have the food, and that's what this guy is telling you. The food, the water, and things when you're not gonna have it. When they have the ability to turn ocean water into drinking water, they have the machine to do that, right? And there's plenty of water in the ocean, so you can't say that there's no drinking water, right? So they're full of it, but it's to put you in restraints. Thus has not given water to the weary to drink, right? Because they're gonna make you weary, and thus has withheld bread, right? And that's what they're telling you. There's a chicken shortage. There's this shortage. There's this shortage. Now they got salmonella and this and that, and now they got to recall the meat and all sorts of stuff, and because of that, meat can't go out, and now the prices are sky high, right? You ain't gonna be able to pay for it. They're gonna hold back the bread from the hungry, right? But as for the mighty men, he had the earth, and the honorable men dwelt in it, right? They have their military to help them. They're gonna have the military to force, get you to get the thing. You know what I mean? And martial law basically. Thus has sent widows away empty, right? And that's what it is. It's really, and that widows is actually talking about the nation of Israel, right? But all people really, right, is going to be sent away empty. But this whole thing is about destroying the Israelites, right? You so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian. And the armies of the fatherless have been broken, right? Because what most of the people in the military are from where? The ghettos, the vadios, the reservations, and you're gonna send them against their own people. But then when there's no food, but the military has food, it's gonna be like, dang, the military is gonna seem like a super great option to serve. But you know, the Most High being the Most High, you're not gonna totally get away with it. Therefore, snares are round about thee, right? So the Lord, all this is gonna be a trap unto you, by you thinking that you can do what do they call it? What is it? A jubilee? They want to, they're calling it the Great Reset, the Jubilee, right? You think you're doing the Jubilee for you, but all in all, you're doing it for the Most High. So this, therefore, snares shall be about thee, and sudden fear troubleth thee, right? And it's going to come to you suddenly. Let me skip down to 13. Was it Job 22:13? And thus saith, how doeth Yahweh know, or God, because you don't believe in Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai. So you like, how do this God know? Can he judge through the dark clouds, right? Which is letting you know that's the Illuminati, because they do their thing in secrecy. You know, man, how do they know? How did God know? How did he know what to do? Thick clouds are a covering to him that he seeth not, right? Like, man, we've been masking what we're saying. We put it to where we set up the scenario through the news, so that way we could say who's who and who's what, and that way we can make whoever we want to make a domestic terrorist, right? There's thick clouds, there's thick, and we can set up the mark and show things on the video to make a market crisis. Now everybody needs to run and grab food, right? When there's plenty, there's plenty of food. Like, you don't really need to run and hide and do all this, but there is a time that's coming. So, because they're setting it up, but they're really doing it for the Most High. What is it? Where was that? And he walketh in the circuits of heaven, right? I mean, the Lord walks. Yahweh Shem Shah walk in the circuits of heaven. You think he can't see? You think he don't know? You think he's too far away? So that's that Illuminati mentality. The clouds are too thick. You know, I've done this and I've done that. How can the Lord know? You know? And you know, it says has thus marked the old way which wicked men have trodden, right? Wait, dang, did he mark the way that the way that wicked men is trodden? Like, how do they know this? which really goes back into the men of the Lord. Like, how are we exposing Esau? How do we know about the Rockefellers, the DuPonts, the Oppenheimers? You know what I mean? How do we know about the Bohemian Groves and the secret councils of the wicked, right? How did they find out that they're the Israelites? They're supposed to just say that they're black, Hispanic, and Native Indian. They're not supposed to say they're the Israelites. How do they know that? This is their mentality, right? But they not understanding that this is a spiritual thing, right? It says, which were cut down out of time, right? Which basically they died, whose foundations were overflown with a flood, right? Going back to Noah, they were washed out with the flood of Noah, which said unto Yahweh, or God, Yahweh, depart from us, and what can the Almighty do it for them? Yet he fill their houses with good things, but the counsel of the wicked is far from him, right? They don't know Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. I mean, it says in Daniel they do a diligent search, and they know a lot of things, and they know that the chariots have to be the angels, but they want to be more in like in disbelief. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like but you don't know. You just don't believe that you're gonna go down, right? I mean, the righteous see it, right? And that's what we're doing. The Lord is showing us that your end is nigh. The righteous see it and are glad, and the innocent laugh them to scorn, right? And that's basically what's happening, man. All the righteous and innocent blood is laughing you to scorn, right? Whereas our substance is not cut down, right? Because we're gonna eat. The men of the Lord are gonna eat, but the remnant of them the fire consumeth, right? But the rest of you Israelites, you 2/3, you other nations, you're gonna be consumed in this coming thing with Esau holding back the bread, right? Matthew chapter 24 verse 4, and Yahushua answered and said unto them, take heed, right? Pay attention to what's going on, that no man deceive you, right? And that's basically what they're trying to do. They're trying to deceive you to get that thing, deceive you that you need to participate in this society, right? Getting the name, the mark, and the number of his name, right? Which is the RFID chip, right? To be part of the Internet of Things, to be part of these smart cities, yeah, right? Because it's so cool, right? But it's deceiving. Let them not deceive you. Let no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, right? Saying that they're Christian, they're Mormon, right? They're Catholic, they're apostolic, they're Pentecostal, right? When all of them have the same so-called Bible or book, but yet they all teaching us a different doctrine. And the Mormons came up with their own thing that do not line up with the Bible at all. So none of this stuff makes sense. But nobody's asking questions. They're just going along with the so-called status quo. And then the thing is, don't question someone in there. Let everyone believe what they want to believe. But no, there's only one belief, right? And it's only Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Like even with all these other Israelite camps, I don't understand that. It's only one way to break down this Bible, and it can't be you coming up with your own things, man. I mean, but a lot of people want to be famous or just want to be, men pleasers. But keep going. Yeah, many should come and saying I am. They say they're Christ, or say they're a Hamashiach, and shall deceive many, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, right, which is going on right now. See that ye be not troubled, right? Because the rest are going to be troubled, but we're not going to be in trouble, Lord willing. I'm one of those men. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines, right? Which is a lack of bread, taking back the bread, right? Shall be famine, and pestilence, right? Which you're going through it right now, right? And earthquakes, right? There's been plenty of earthquakes lately. Earthquakes, volcanoes, cyclones. There's been all sorts of stuff happening lately in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. This is 2 Ezra chapter 15, verse 17. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, which is going to be martial law, which this guy was just talking about. You're going to go on lockdowns again, right? For because of their pride, the cities shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid, and a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, which the modern day sword is the gun, right? And spoil, right, which means to take, to steal, to take goods, take their goods, right, to steal, spoil their goods because of the lack of bread, right? Because it said they're going to take back the bread, to hold back the bread, famines, take back the bread for great tribulation. And this guy was saying that financial meltdown, the banks and all these things, they know something. You're not going to have it. So call Loyum Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, Bashem Rakal Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Salutations to the Akim and the four winds, preaching in truth and sincerity, the hopeful elect, the 144,000 righteous men, the kingdom of heaven, hastening the day of Yahweh Shai, and righteous King David being our king once more on the righteous world, and you Israelite foreigners who phenotype that may look like another nation who have came back to the fold. Shalom to sisters Aqua for listening and learning, and silence. Shalom and death to America.